as of there we go. So let me let everyone in and just kind of kick this thing off here. Okay, we have people coming in. I'm gonna make sure everybody gets in here. Guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. Everyone will have Chris, somebody wants to request me. Okay, so who's ever requesting to record the meeting, that's going to be taken care of on my end. So since it'll be taken care of on my end, once it's done, the recording will be posted on all of my pages. So everyone will have a chance to have access to this information. So just wanted to make sure I identified that up front and let everyone know that that's going to be the flow and that's how it's going down. So yeah, so we should be good there. So in the spirit of getting started on time and making sure everything is rocking and rolling, guys, here we go. Man, I am excited for you guys to get this information today. And I'm going to continue to let everyone in. And what I'm doing with this recording, I know there are a lot of people that are very experienced in the hemp space on this call. So some of y'all are going to be like, well, yeah, JJ, I already know what fiber is. I know what herd is. Well, you know what? This part is not for you. Okay. Because there are people that are joining and going to listen to this recording later. And they're like, what in the hell is this thing we call hemp, right? So because of that, there are some fundamental things that I want to talk about and address first. And after I address those things to kind of set the stage, then we'll talk about the more advanced stuff. So with that being said, I'm just going to do a quick screen share here with you guys. I've made up a little, little quick few slides here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be a good host and I'm going to share the screen, maximize. Okay. All right. So first of all, guys, if anyone needs to get in contact with me after this over, this is my direct contact. Derek, can you give me a quick thumbs up? Can you guys see my slide? Okay, sweet. So when this thing is over, guys, if anyone has any questions for me directly, here is my my website as well as my email address. Feel free to hit me up with an email if you have questions afterwards. But this is not about me. The meat of this is going to be about a young man who I met at NOCO this year, and he's doing some amazing things. And I wanted to let people know the value of NOCO because when you go to NOCO, you get to Eric, So pretty awesome there. And also, wanted to make sure that I highlighted, what he's doing. So with all that being said, like I said, if anyone needs to contact me, this is how you do it. Number one, first of all, when people are talking about hempcrete and houses and whatnot, they're like, oh man, I'm going to set my house on fire and invite the whole neighborhood over. No, this is not that version of the plant. Okay. So first of all, that version of the plant where we talk about cannabinoids, guys, this is what it looks like. It grows 4 to 6 feet tall, and they primarily use the buds and the leaves from this plant to either smoke or extract the oils from them to get things like CBD, CBG, THC, stuff like that. But this is not the version of the plant that we're talking about. Now, there is another version of the plant that we still call hemp because it's below 0.3% THC, but it doesn't grow 4 to 6 feet tall. The one we're talking about today looks more like this. It grows 15 to 20 feet tall, and that is a full grown man. That is not a little person, okay? And this version of the plant, we grow it primarily for the stock, okay? Now, here's another version of the plant. This is my buddy Wade Atterbury. Wade's like 6 feet tall, okay? So if he's 6 feet tall and he's holding that lets you know. And look at the stock on that thing, man. The stock is really round. We're going to dive into that and we're going to talk about that. But this is the version of the plant that this chat is going to be centered around. Now, when you take that plant and you cut it down and you look at it from a side profile, the whole thing is called the stalk, but the outside of the stalk is what we call bast fiber. Okay. The inner portion is what we call hurd. The woody core is what we call hurd material. Okay. Now, here's another picture of the bast fiber separated from the hurd. The bast fiber is normally used for things like ropes, ship sails, a lot of war efforts back in the day. Anything made out of paper, comes normally from bast fiber, fiber type materials. Now, the inner portion is called hurd, like I showed you on the previous slide. And here's another picture of the fiber separated from the hurd. So there you are. there you have it. And we're not going to talk about the equipment today that's used to separate these. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But just wanted you to know what bast fiber looks like versus hurd. Now, the combination of hurd, lime, and water mixed together traditionally makes this substance that we call hempcrete. And when you make hempcrete is mold resistant, pest resistant, fire retardant. You can put a blowtorch against it at like 5,000 degrees and it will not catch on fire. Okay. So it's a great material and it sequesters carbon from the environment as well. And, my guest today, he's been able to do some phenomenal things, with that combination of hurd, lime, and water, and a special mixture that he uses to put in hempcrete. Now, this is a project that I was involved with myself in San Antonio, Texas. And this was a little bit of a raised foundation. And as you see in between, instead of insulation, there's hempcrete, that combination of the hurd, the lime, and the water that they used in there. And then from there, they put up the walls, right? And once they put up the walls, they actually put forms on the outside of the walls and put that mixture in the form. Okay. And once they had it full, they moved the forms up and they continue to pack more material in until you actually, when you remove the forms, that's what it traditionally looks like. When we talk about the method of cast in place, where you bring everything onto a job site, you mix it up, you put it together, and you build it in place. But you also have cure times that you have to worry about when you build this way as well. The material has to cure, for a few weeks before you go any further. Okay, so that's what that looks like there. Oops. What did I just do? Was that the last slide that I had for you guys? Yeah, that was the last slide that I had. Okay, all right. So it makes sense why you can't see no more slides. So that was my last slide. All right, cool. So now the beauty of what Derek is doing, he's doing hempcrete blocks, guys. So with hempcrete blocks, you don't have to worry about that drying and curing time because they already take care of that. You still have the mold resistance, the pest resistance, the fire retardancy, all of that stuff still sequesters carbon, but they show up to a job site as blocks and they are ready to go. And while we're, asking Derek a few questions and talking about a few things, I'm going to pull up some more pictures of his blocks because, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought I had placed them in the presentation, but I did not. Not a big deal. We will take care of that. So, with all that said, guys, like I told you, I met Derek at NOCO, and anybody who's doing anything in this space, like I got excited when I met Derek. He probably didn't understand my excitement because I saw the blocks, right? I knew people were doing the blocks, but like I was like, I never got a chance to actually see a block and touch a block myself. And then I found out he was doing structural blocks as well. So I'm like, wow, okay, so it's not just insulated. These things can be used for structural material as well. So I wanted to highlight him in his company and him have a chance to come out here and talk about, what he's doing in this space. So with all of that said, I'd like to introduce you guys to my buddy Derek Wolf. Derek, can you hear me okay?
Yes, James.
Awesome.
Thanks
Awesome.
so much for that awesome introduction.
Yeah, man.
That is a great lead up, sir. I really appreciate that. And I love how you addressed a lot of the basics with the type of the hemp plant, fiber that we use, kind of going back to square one. Because, like you say, when you get on a call or a Zoom or you're at the trade show, you don't know how much everyone's seen so far. So it's great to start kind of right at the top.
Yeah, dude, it's so funny because like it doesn't even piss me off anymore. Like I just laugh when people say things that they say they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna come over and set your house on fire." It's like,
Yeah.
one, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Two, you're not
No.
gonna get high. So there's that. So man, bro, like what was your vision? Like, what made you guys decide to get involved with hempcrete, more specifically hempcrete blocks, U.S. manufactured? I mean, you cover all the blocks, man. You check all the
Right.
blocks. What made you decide to do this in the U.S.?
That's a great question. And it's definitely one of my favorite, James.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to hemp. I came into hemp on a personal level around 2012.
Okay.
And originally, I got into it from related to health and wellness. And
Hmm.
so I was actually working in the dietary supplement industry as a manufacturer.
Oh wow.
And so over the years, a lot of my job normally revolved around quality control, production management, keeping the clients happy, keeping the FDA happy, which is not
Yeah.
easy to do. You know how
No.
those types are, dealing with being audit ready. And so, it's interesting in health and wellness, when you're trying to improve someone's health, it works best if you take a holistic approach to that.
Right.
And one of the biggest takeaways, I was in that industry for well over a decade, was that our environment is actually one of the biggest factors in our health, because
Mhm.
wherever we live or work and we eat or sleep, if there's exposure to toxic chemicals, environmental hazards, that's a huge factor. And today we see a lot related to mold exposure, where people have health issues that they can't crack or figure out. And eventually they do the testing and they research and they figure out, hey, my home is actually making me sick.
Thick. Yeah.
Or if you have a work environment that's hazardous, we see that in construction. My father and my grandfather were lifelong carpenters, and they were in construction. So from a young age, you kind of get a feel for the materials you're being exposed to. And some of those carry a hazard. So over the years, closer to around 2016, I really fell into the concept of natural building materials as a way to build better in terms of health, but also for longevity and durability of the actual homes that people would like to live in.
Hmm.
And I think I can share with some of the builders that are on the call here today as well, that you look at a lot of the modern solutions for what's being used or some of the methods, and you have homes and buildings falling over within decades, and nobody has a legacy home anymore. And the cost of construction is way up, and things don't last as long as they could. And there's a big need to do it better. So around that time, falling into natural building materials, and I came onto the topic of hempcrete, hemp lime insulation, and saw what was being done in Europe, which they did not suffer the prohibition that we did in the US, where we were not allowed to farm and have ready access to these materials. Europe did not have that prohibition, so they had a good 30, 40-year head start on working with a lot of these materials.
Right.
Came across, as many here today, and many of your fans, you see the great potentials. You mentioned some of them using hemp as a natural building material. We're talking mold resistance, fire resistance. There's energy cost reduction because you're heating and cooling efficiency. So we're talking very practical benefits, like for a family, you got to pay the electric bill. Every couple $100 a month adds up. And if you
Right.
could keep those costs knocked down. So when I was coming on to hempcrete pretty strong, I was kind of shocked that back then, naturally, there was no domestic supply really in the USA, starting with the hemp, until it could be farmed finally in 2018, and the supply chain started growing.
Hmm.
And the draw for me was just taking my background in dietary supplement manufacturing and looking to make
Hey,
quality, consistent
yeah, she's in the back.
products.
Sorry about that. Somebody unmuted their microphone, but I
Oh, no
took.
worries. So the thought was, hey, we can see people are needing these products available. Um, a lot of people that I've met and spoken with would prefer absolutely if these materials were available domestically.
Mhm.
And related to that, there's things like economic security related to that, like starting with our farmers. When you
Mhm.
use American building grade hemp for your projects, you're actually supporting American farmers, American processors, and all through that supply chain. So in the early days, there was no domestic production happening. And the goal, the ambition became, let's become a domestic manufacturer who would commit to using only American made materials and not be dependent on a European, exclusively European supply chain.
Mhm.
And so that's what got me into the founding of Hemp and Block in 2018. And then a lot of the early years, the first, gosh, 2, 3 years are really just spent doing a lot of experimenting, R&D, formulating. And a big part of that was with my background in dietary supplement manufacturing, we did a lot of formulating to meet the label claims. And so um, if you can source your own materials, as a manufacturer, and you
Mhm.
formulate, and this is all done domestically, there's a lot of, for everybody around you, there's kind of a security in that, and you have a control over your blends. And if somebody wants it tweaked down this way or something for this climate, you can help them better, in my opinion. And so the goal was just to develop the core products. And so I started with formulating a hempcrete binder. And so we do actually supply a lot of our bagged binder into cast in place projects. But as you
Nice.
mentioned, the blocks, and I'm very come from a very blue collar family, and a lot of people I spoke with, same thing. Everybody has great recognition conceptually, usually for blocks. And even if
Mhm.
it's a newer material, when you talk blocks, people tend to relate to that. And it could be a very easily to use unit of, for instance, building a home.
Mhm.
And so the opportunity there, if somebody was able to use a precast block, like you say, you don't have to be beholden to the cure time that can be extended on a cast in place. That might be 6 weeks or 8 weeks or more, depending on your wall thickness. So a precast block is going to arrive ready to install. Once the walls are up, you can immediately get on to the finishing steps. For the builders, this is huge. You
Yep.
can shave weeks off the construction time. And
And I'm gonna
then
keep talking.
also,
I got your
oh, go
blocks,
ahead.
so keep talking.
Great.
I'm gonna
Yeah. And
show some
so
pictures.
another thought is the consistency that you might be able to achieve with having, and these I love. We've gotten so much interest in these hemp cinder blocks that we've been prototyping, where we've had builders say, hey, I want a greener cinder block. I don't want it to be generic, concrete, usual everything. We need to be greener or more sustainable, or we're concerned about the carbon footprint and the emissions. And so with this concept, the hemp cinder block, we're kind of merging with the established what's there for concrete cinder blocks, but working to offer a much more sustainable but still high performance alternative. And so we've been able to hit in our testing, we've had results in the 2,500 psi range for compressive
Wow.
strength on some of these mixes, which is where you can meet, you kind of get past the minimum where somebody has an expectation of, 1900, 2000, 2200 psi in a masonry block. And so you can actually start to carry weight. And related to that, we've had just a lot of requests over the years of, hey man, I love this hemp thing. What can we do about building without having so much wood framing required? I want to save the trees or save the forest. I don't want to have, framing studs every 16 inches
Talk
everywhere,
about like this right here.
like that right there. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's opportunities where you can cut blocks to fit around, in this case, this is more of an insulation block.
Mhm.
So you can install it onto, stud framing, and around it is what normally happens with hempcrete. And then the load bearing things were more recent development based on some of the more outstanding requests we've had, where people want to, take it that direction. And so what you can do with hemp in this case, you're using hemp as a natural reinforcing fiber.
Mhm.
Depending how you work with the hemp before it's used in the mix, you can um, work it in a way that it's actually going to benefit the internal curing of your masonry block, and you're bigly offsetting the carbon footprint and the emissions of your building material in this case by using hemp fiber as an aggregate. And so you're using less mined material, stone and sand, which it's plentiful, but there's only so much. Whereas the hemp crop, we love this about it. You can year after year grow from the same field over and over. It's a very regenerative material.
Mhm. And another thing too that I love, like, so first of all, shout out to my buddy Lucas Evans for making it on this call. I'm glad to see Lucas out here because this is a great segue because that little slit in the middle of that block, that's where rebar can go to kind of reinforce those, right?
Yes, and I was very excited when he told me about Lucas joining up on the call
Yep. So because Luke, so
because
just so everybody knows, Lucas Evans is
yes,
actually doing a hemp rebar. They call it tree bar. Oh, he's got the shirt off. He must be driving, getting some. He's recharging like Superman right now. Okay. All right.
I appreciate the shout out. Let's definitely chat after this, Derek. Yeah, thank you, Jay.
absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that I have a feeling, for example, what can be accomplished from what I've seen with his tree bar. If a builder wanted to, they can use conventional steel rebar, sure. One of the things we had worked with before is a basalt rebar, and seeing Lucas's tree bar, a big thing with these type of non-metallic, a non-steel rebar, you're not going to have the rusting and corrosion and
Yes.
potential of spalling and bursting, which in concrete structures, that's one of the main issues with early failure, is that the water gets in and reacts with that steel
Hmm.
rebar and it rusts and then it swells and that pressure actually busts out like bridges and a lot of our structures and homes and walls. So what I love about that potential, that kind of material, like a tree bar, is that you can build this very smartly for longevity, where you're not going to have those factors that could contribute to such an early, failure.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. So that's your block. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about this one a little bit or this one a little bit more, but these
Yeah, those ones are funny. That's a funny story. Just a real quick story. How
okay.
sometimes things come full circle. When we started in the early days, let's be very short, but I saw a big potential in the early days for a load bearing block. And one of the first types of block fixes we came up with was this, where it's sort of like a hybrid between a adobe block, a rammed earth adobe block, and a hemp block, where you're kind of merging some of the similar materials. And so what you're doing there is you're trading off a little bit of the insulation benefit, but you're actually getting into a territory where you can build without all the timber reinforcement that's required in a lot of structures, most generally with all structures. So when I took that block mix to one of the first trade shows I went to in
Mhm.
the very early days, one of the guys, I think he had been there from Europe, and they had only seen very specifically a hemp lime insulation block, which is very, very, very lightweight. And you can't treat it like a masonry block. And he picked up my block. He's like, no, 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 no. It's too heavy, too strong. No, no, no. And I was explaining. And so we actually, around 2019 or so, 2020, we kind of put this on the back burner and specifically only made, for a couple of reasons, hemp insulation blocks. And one of the big reasons was, if you look at how hempcrete is defined, hemp lime, it's defined as a non-load bearing, wall infill material meant to replace your insulation and drywall. So I wanted to support the industry and be congruent with how the terms are being defined and not add to confusion. And then
Right.
more recently, very excited to jump back into these kind of mixes for the potential that they hold.
There's something that I got my little piece of paper here and I'm writing some notes, as you talk about certain things. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about real quick, like I know other people that are doing, hempcrete blocks, right? Actually, next week, I see my buddy Harry Hemp on this call. I'm gonna actually host him next week to talk about the style that he's doing because he's working on a project in Austin, Texas right now. So I want him to have a chance to talk about his project. So we're gonna do that next week. But like outside of you, Harry, and my buddy Ray Catterley, he's out here as well. But
Mhm, mhm.
man, there is a block that's it's not the company's fault. It's a Canadian block, the ones that look like Legos, but the person that they've chosen to represent them here in the US, um, they're like really shitty with returning phone calls. They're really bad about just the customer service aspect of things. And the thing that I love about you, dude, I met you, I met your wife, I met your kids, like amazing spirit. So when I saw your spirit and then it's US based and you're doing all this stuff,
Right.
it's like, yeah, everybody's got to know about this type of stuff because this is home territory, And I just really appreciate you, for your service to this space and how you're putting it together and you're doing it with integrity. And, you have the background and you're surrounded by people who have the background to do that. So if someone wants to contact you directly, because see, a lot of people say, "Hey JJ, how do I contact Derek?" Well, if you get JJ involved, there are fees that come with that. 'Cause I ain't picking up the phone and calling people for nothing. All right. But if someone wanted to get involved with you, Derek, what's the best way for them to go about contacting you, man?
Yeah, so I can drop in the chat box the
Uh,
website, but
the chat,
the
the
best
chat's
way is
disabled.
really,
I
oh, okay,
disabled the chat
so
because people be
yeah,
doing stupid
so
stuff in the chat. So just
oh, gotcha. So our website is hempandblock.com, the same way it is kind of spelled out here, no spaces, just hempandblock.com. We have the phone number on the website. We have emails on the website. We make a point, which is a big thing that you mentioned, and we've noticed that too, is the need to actually answer the phone when people are trying to contact you, because we've been told too that somebody, when people go around and look online and it's a newer material or a newer product, they really need that reassurance sooner
yeah.
that someone's actually there. And when you get blank websites or no one's responsive, it doesn't help.
Because it is taking
So
everything inside of me not to say this person's
yes,
name, but I know I'm recording myself right now. I'm doing good, Derek. I'm being good. I'm trying to be a good
that's
shepherd
the
to
way to
the,
do it.
you know what I'm saying?
That's the way to do it.
Um,
So we operate kind of like an old-fashioned company where email's great, but we encourage people just to call the company line whenever, and it's usually myself or my wife that answers the phone
yeah.
and can answer any questions that
So
people might have.
So anybody listening to this, hey, JJ's happy to help. I love talking to Derek. I love talking to him. But if you get me involved, guys, you got to figure out what you're gonna do to, you know what I'm saying? But if you want to deal with them directly, I got no problem with that. It's entirely, up to you. The last thing that I wanted to ask you, and if you got more to add, Derek, where are you
Yeah.
guys at, or what are you doing with the ASTM process? Are y'all doing anything with that in terms of the
Yeah, that's a great question. And so um, taking a step-by-step approach, the first place that we wanted to start was at the compressive strength testing, because if you're not going to meet the threshold for the ASTM requirements on load-bearing masonry, you need to stay, at the drawing board or such and keep experimenting until you hit that point. And then from there, we have labs that we're working with that can do an actual full panel for everything that's pointed out in that masonry code. And
okay.
so the first step was the compressive strength. And so, for instance, we're getting into the neighborhood of 2,500 PSI on the mixed designs that are deliberately load bearing structural. And so the next step is taking that through to actually putting it through the other line items on that panel of requirements.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's really interesting. Some of the builders that we've been working with, which has been very exciting, they have some outstanding concepts and designs where they're requesting, hey, if you could help collaborate on the hemp-based product that can meet this, would open a lot of doors here and be great for the industry.
Right.
And so one of the builders who's fantastic, great resource, I tell everybody to look him up, is Tim White of Texas Healthy Homes.
Yep. Yep.
And what I really love about Tim is that he'll always tell you like it is,
Yep.
which can be sometimes inconvenient depending on, but him in particular, he showed and explained things to me from his 20, 30 years experience as a natural builder that like, hey, if we can help solve these problems for him, that's going to be best for everybody. So we're doing a range of load bearing, some load bearing products, including ones that would be able to be tested next to a concrete masonry unit.
That's awesome. And I'm gonna look, I am going to take a live round for you right now, Derek. I'm gonna do this because I think you're a good dude and you deserve this. You have spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort getting your products to where they are right now. Okay. And oftentimes everybody wants to pick up the phone and say, hey man, I know you're doing these hempcrete blocks, but man, if you could make us some hempcrete bowls, that'd be amazing. Are you serious? Like for real? Like just it's like, I mean, damn, this is new, like help the industry, like support what they're doing currently before you ask somebody to do something totally out of their wheelhouse because they're going to waste their time doing other things, you know? So, yeah.
Yes, and I do love to stay in my wheelhouse. And as a manufacturer supplier, I'm not, competing with the builders in the field. I work with the builders and collaborate and work to supply them. And there's a lot to be said for every aspect of this industry, the actual beast it is to contain and
Mhm.
to manage and to do it right. And so the farmers absolutely have their hands full to be great farmers. As a
Right.
manufacturer, this is my wheelhouse, and kind of go from
That's
there.
right.
And so it's by having that focus,
That's right.
but also a very
Yes.
mutual respect with, I love my suppliers and the people I work with for
That's
sure.
right. That is your focus. That is your lane. It ain't all this other shit that everybody wants you to do. That's not your lane. You have
No.
your focus, you have your thing that you're doing, and
Right.
people need to be respectful of that. I hate, I love and hate new people at the same time because new blood is the lifeblood of any organization. But man, like take a little bit of time to just educate yourself, right? Of what's going on and where things are in somebody's company. My buddy Greg Wilson, he owns Hempwood,
Mm,
Kentucky.
yes,
Greg deals
yes.
with it all the time. Like they manufacture blocks, like Hempwood blocks. That's what they do. Why are you calling this dude to ask him, hey, can you make us some bowls? Can you make us some? No, you buy your block and you go find somebody that can do that
Right.
stuff, you know? So it's like I said, man, I all the respect in the world for what you're doing, how you're doing it, and I just
Thanks.
want to continue, to highlight you and give you your flowers while you're alive, man. Y'all are doing it.
Well, I appreciate that. And, it's been great to see our industry grow and see more domestic supply of hemp. And we also have more suppliers for product, we have more product manufacturers that have come online.
Mhm.
And I think something that's important to consider is if we look at, for instance, the concrete or the cement industry, regionally, you have producers, if not multiple in the same state, but regionally, you have these producers all over. And we need that growth that we've had and continue to get in the industry to better serve people, to reach to me, one of the most long-term important goals was always to, again, just not be beholden to imported European materials. And
Right.
so on the one hand, yeah, if I see a hemp block manufacturer on the East Coast, naturally there's a little bit of, yeah, we're kind of competing in the space, but in the big picture, I would rather have like a friendly competition. Let's compete. But we're
Yep.
both American companies creating jobs in our towns and cities.
Yep.
And I love that. And I love to see that. So I hope to keep seeing that in the industry, that we have more growth for
Absolutely.
sure.
And I don't know what kind of crystal ball you have, but man, it was spot on with you coming up with this prior to everything that's kicking off with the tariffs, with all the, tariff and trade stuff right now. So by keeping it,
Yeah,
dude, your crystal ball is spot on. Like keep that thing polished up. Windex, you're on it.
that's a real thing. And we saw with COVID, never mind about me, but I think we all saw too with COVID, supply chains got crazy fast.
Yeah.
Timber, even the cement industry went sideways. And so anytime you have disruptions that are going to affect a building schedule on a home, that's terrible. And if you have materials that are now subject to, it keeps adding on.
Mhm.
And so, man, you know, my concept was, basically the minerals, if you look at the chemistry and the minerals behind it and go from there, there's there's a lot of fantastic reason to be using American minerals, for instance, the minerals that we have available in the United States, on the continent, the limestone deposits, the silica minerals that we can bring in, the clay that's available, what can be done. It can be done here, and it should be. And I definitely hope to keep seeing that, year by year.
Absolutely. And then, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this just a little bit, since I know you got a little knowledge on it too. I got to salt bay just a little bit of it in there before we open this up for Q&A. The industry is growing, right? Hemp blocks, sustainable building materials, that is growing. It's growing and it's about to get exponential. It's about to hit exponential growth. But at the same time, people are still able to do things with cannabinoids. And now everybody's fighting about the THC bans, and all of that stuff. And I own part of a medical marijuana grow in Oklahoma myself. Ain't nobody on this call against weed. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously.
Right.
But it's like with what's happening from a building material standpoint, and people can still do things chemically, and still call it hemp. Like, there's got to be some kind of delineation or some type of regulation that happens, because this cannot, like, I'm sorry, but Delta 8 cannot hold back hempcrete or hempcrete block. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It can't. So
Right.
I didn't know if you wanted to, touch on that a second. If not, it's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'd say real quick. So something neat in the past year that came about was in Colorado here. We have our Department of Agriculture for Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a hemp advisory committee uh, that helps with that program. And
Uh-huh.
so last year I was nominated, and I applied and I was accepted on the board
Uh-huh.
or the committee. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a 3-year term with our Department of Agriculture's hemp advisory committee.
Nice, man.
And in those meetings, I mean, that kind of thing comes up because you have some of these stuff with the cannabinoids and then the other things that are just a little too much. It can really throw a wrench in what's able to happen here. And
Right.
so I know with our state, something they've been working on is really separating that, like even for the benefit of the farmer,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to give the farmer a pathway. Like, hey, man, if you grow this crop for fiber or for grain, it has nothing to do. And I have a
Right.
lot of neighbors that are farmers that don't want to hear anything about CBD anymore because there were some bad deals that happened with the farming out here.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, no. I mean, these guys, I'm going to punch you in the mouth if you talk about being a CBD. Okay. And so the Department of Agricultures are helping to kind of get some more separation there
Yeah.
and even make the registration easier, because what we're doing is very, very separate. And you're right. And it's not fair to have it lumped in with this stuff's, great and all, but this is very
Yeah.
different. And I've seen a lot of improvement, I think, support towards that with our Department of Agriculture.
And I'm not like you. I'm not saying that there's not a place for it. There is a place for it. But when we look at what hemp was meant to do, what hemp was meant to be back in the day, traditionally, it was not all the other stuff that's going on now. And oftentimes people get all butt hurt when I try to bring it back to center of what this plant was meant to be, the one that we are calling hemp for industrial purposes, and I'm not trying to
Right.
be a butthole anybody. It's just that's not what it was meant to do, guys. Like, there was a loophole, and now they're trying to get away from that so that this other part, what it was meant to do, can really do its thing. What's the answer? 100%. I do not know. I can tell you what I think I want it to be, because I kind of dabbling on both sides of this thing. But like I said, just wanted to touch on it for a second because I'm going to have some conversations with people that are on this call that are running for certain key positions within agriculture later on. So I wanted to make sure that we talked about it a little bit. So later on, when we have these sidebar conversations, it's really, they really understand. Got it. That's where this is coming from. Um,
If
so
they can push for grain, that's something I've been told by some of the hemp farmers I know. And then dipping into the regulatory side, there's been a big push to get hemp seed as grain for livestock feed pushed through where hemp farmers can, which is currently previously illegal. So all the hemp seeds getting imported from Canada, China, whatever. But if this would be huge and affects farmers, builders, everybody in between. If farmers can grow, and if you could maybe suggest, or these folks that you work with are in that field, if they can get it pushed through where hemp, industrial hemp, is grown as livestock feed grain, and then go after the seeds harvested, those stalks can be processed. That's one of the reasons, for instance, like the hemp in Canada and the hemp in Europe, the hemp herd is so much cheaper, and it's hard for American companies to compete sometimes with that. It's like a quarter of the price per pound. If in the United States we did something smarter, like grow it for seed and then process that same crop, process the stalks to make building grade hemp, maybe take off the bast fiber if you can, the actual input cost as a material goes way down and would help a ton. So I would encourage that too. Looking at hemp seed for livestock feed would help with building materials and, down the line.
And then when we're talking hemp seed, we're talking omegas, we're talking fatty acids, we're talking protein. We're not even talking cannabinoids at that point, and a lot of people don't realize that. And I understand, these are times of ignorance, but as we get informed, right, we need to because the only difference between ignorance and stupidity is like you're ignorant when you don't know, but now when you know better and you're still doing stupid stuff, now you're stupid. That's the only difference between ignorance and stupidity. So, with all that being said, man, I wanted to give our guests, we got about another 20 minutes. I just wanted to kind of, open this thing up a little bit for Q&A, because we've got a stack. Like I've got like everybody that's on this call right now, just about, I know them personally. I've reached out to them. I've kind of stacked the deck for this call because I wanted some true heavy hitters that are doing great things in this space to be able to come out, ask you some questions. And whatnot. So if anybody wants to unmute at this time, don't be shy. All right. Oh, I see. Let's go with Ray. I saw you hit the unmute first. And then we got Miss Iola Stallings right behind that. So Ray Catterley, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. Thanks for the invite. And Derek,
That
it's a pleasure
sexy guy.
to hear you, and kudos to you on all that you're bringing to the market. It's been a joy to follow your progress along the way. Um,
Thank you,
the
Ray.
two main questions on one is the vapor permeability of the different products that you've got. I understand you've got something that's load bearing with the CMU, and then you've got the other blocks. If you could talk about the vapor permeability, and then would we need like a house wrap or something like that in with one of those applications? Are you targeting those more towards commercial? And then, so that's number one. And then the other thing is your go-to-market. Are you going to be looking to manufacture and ship out block? Or are you going to look to set up at like a processing facility or at a ready mix plant? Like a lot of the conventional block manufacturers, there's the ready mix plant and then there's the block plant. Are you talk a little bit more about your go-to-market if you have a strategy on that? I didn't know if you're going to sell equipment, sell blocks, or a little bit of both.
Those are great questions, Ray. That's awesome. Yeah, and so something that I've been working, I'll start with the second question first. Something I've been working on a lot, kind of behind, doors, and working with some of the bigger hemp suppliers, or the ones that I've known for the past few years. We had been looking to do and collaborating on just that, where we have our main production facility here in Colorado, and that'll probably always be home to us. But we've been working very intimately with these suppliers on getting it right to the mill. And some of these parties have expressed like, hey, I've got investor backing kind of thing, and we're looking at this. Because just as like looking at conventional concrete block, the logistics is something that our industry has to be super mindful of for those same reasons. And so instead of shipping from Colorado to all these other states, there's a very great potential to bring our methods there, where we would just kind of multiply everything and open up, these secondary facilities where we can actually get right there on it. And what's fun with that is you can even, we're in talks how you can make modifications and do the equipment installation in certain ways. That way, when they're running their hemp through the mill and making their different gradings of hemp, that could be going straight into a storage silo or storage bin that's going to feed the block manufacturing. And I know in my heart that whether it was us involved with something like that, just from a logistics perspective, I think that's a very smart thing to look at. Is, everybody find who's got who's your closest hemp supplier, where they're processing, and what can you do to shorten those distances. I think it's smart for everybody. And there's been a few interested parties from throughout the US, some closer to us here in Colorado and the surrounding states, and then others kind of further on the East Coast, and just take all that one step at a time. And then regarding the first question, so our main line of hempcrete or hempcrete blocks is a cement-free blend. There's no Portland cement in our what I'll call conventional hemp line mix. And those were, I think we last saw each other at Greenbuild in Philly last year, Ray. And so those lighter colored off-white, slightly golden hue, yellowish hue blocks that I had at my table with me, those are totally cement-free. And we've had a lot of requests, over the years, like, hey, we want cement-free for the hemp lime insulation block. And so as far as that goes, the vapor permeability expectation would be on, compositionally, it's a lime pozzolan blend. And so the expectation would be, pretty congruent with a cement-free hemp lime mix. And then with those stronger and stronger blocks, where we have a range from, let's say, if somebody wants a 500 psi or higher to, let's say, a 2500, as it does go higher, that is going to be in effect and kind of in its character, it's going to be getting closer to a concrete block and some of those expectations. And so that's one of the better comparison I can think, because in those cases, we've had people like, hey, I want to use this cinder block in the same manner that I would use them normally. Can you make something like that? And so that's how this came to be. And so I would put that more like a expectation of what you get from a conventional CMU.
Now here's
Thanks, Ray.
before I give Ms. Stallings a chance to answer her question, there's someone on this call. I'm not going to call them out, but I'm just going to say, give them something to think about. There's someone on this call that lives in Oklahoma that knows concrete manufacturers already. How easy would it be for them? I mean, they already have everything there, right? I mean, it would be easy for them to work a blend for this versus what they traditionally do if they're willing to listen and not be stupid and hard-headed. Would you agree to that, Derek?
Yeah, I think it's like with farmers, I've got, I'm surrounded by a big farming community. We're in a small town, kind of to the side of the mountains, a lot of farmers here, a lot of conventional farmers, and they'll do things the way that they've been done as long as they've known it and the way their daddy and granddaddy did it. And they don't want to hear anything else.
That
so
right there,
you have some, so you have some people that'd be really receptive to it. And you have others, I think, that'd be very resistant to it. But I would say there's absolutely a lot that we can use and leverage from the established concrete industry, the precast industry, and there's a lot of opportunity there. For instance, if there was an old rundown factory, I mean, I don't want to let all my secrets out here in the open, but it's something I take a really good look at. Is I love looking for old buildings that are for sale where it used to be a factory.
Yep.
And factories can be retooled and things can happen that can be brought up, and you give people jobs again. And you don't have to only do this new, like totally newfangled, but I will say too, out of respect for those manufacturers, the precast block companies that are doing 10,000 concrete blocks a day, getting into the door, if they're not interested, it's just like whatever, to retool it to them or introduce one more different material, not gonna, it doesn't mesh well enough. But that opportunity sure is there, absolutely, for the right people.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Mhm.
Cool. Well, thank you for touching on that.
Yeah.
Miss Iola Stallings, I know you've been waiting. Here we go.
Yes.
How are you?
Well, my question, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Question is, look, are you interested in franchising? And the reason why I asked the question is because I've been growing hemp since 2018, and it's difficult. And because well, the farm is in Wisconsin, and it's been hard to not to grow, but to manufacture, to do something with it. So I've got stuff sitting in barns, and you know what I mean. And I want to
Right.
figure out. I want to know
Right.
somebody's actually doing something that can maybe. I'm open to a franchise in Wisconsin. I have the land to do it. It's not like it's not 100 acres, but I've got 4 or 5 barns on there that, are storage places. And I just want to do something. I feel like that I feel stagnated. I'm just going to be very honest with you. But I love what I do. You know what I mean? I love what it
Right.
produces. I love to go out. Because I don't have a green thumb. And let me tell you something, I've been real blessed with this stuff. And it's a miracle. I kill cactus. I mean, I'm just going to be real honest with you. So this has been one of the most positive things in terms of growing anything in life that I've ever done. So I really want to see if there's any way that I can
But
help,
with what you're
sell,
with what
push
you're
it,
Yes.
whatever.
with what you're talking about, so you've
Mhm.
got plant material, but there's
Yes.
fortification in between that has to happen before he can do anything with it. I mean, am I, Derek? Talk about.
To clarify, so when we use the form of hemp that we normally use, it's already been processed into
Oh, broken down.
so-called building grade, processed down. And so that's kind of the overlapping concentric circles, was that
Mhm.
if you had the equipment already, or if somebody nearby, for instance, I don't know if you moved forward with it yet, but there was a CBD hemp farmer in Illinois that I met, and he was looking to get into industrial hemp. And if you had processing, maybe within a couple 100 miles,
Mm.
where they could turn that material around, that would absolutely be, a big leg up. And we have been offering and had kind of penciled out some so-called, franchise opportunities where we just want to manufacture more and have more people that can come into the industry and get a great job and, do everything they can do. And yeah, we're very open to that. Absolutely. Would love to talk, anytime, call or email, whatever works, and we can talk more.
Hey, Miss Iola, remember when I
Okay.
was remember when I was telling you, I mean, we've had a few remember when I was saying, like, if if you owned a decorticator or decortication equipment, you would have.
I know.
Remember that?
I
Remember
know.
that? Remember them talks?
Shut up talking to me. Anyway, I don't want to hear from right now. So, what is it, Derek? I'm gonna definitely reach out to you around JJ. No, I'm just kidding.
Because I'm gonna say I told your ass if you.
But you say that, but the problem with that is a money a bit. I'm just gonna keep it honest. A money, but now some things have changed
Right, right.
within the last couple of months or so. So things are it's getting better. It was. Let me tell you how slow that process was. But yeah. So and I'll reach out to you because I need to understand. I've been sitting on this stuff for so long. I don't even know. It's not rotten. Shut up, JJ. See, off that. But anyway, and it's I know it's not rotten. It's just
Right.
that I wonder,
Right.
can I still use it? And if I do, what in the world am I gonna have to do to break it down? Be quiet, JJ. I don't want to talk to you right now. Yeah,
No
right.
habla inglés.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah,
so
and no
I'll reach
worries
out to
there,
you.
because oh, great, great, great. Yeah, and I was going to say no worries about the storage. It could be totally viable. Some of the main hemp suppliers I know that process, some of them have been going around and purchasing surplus material from even over the past couple of years. Like it's already, been aged, and as long as
Well,
it was
it's never
stored
been
well
age.
enough, they're still processing anyways.
Okay. So, okay, well, I'll definitely get in touch with you because I do have material, and if nothing else, I can, if they're open to purchase it or whatever, and help kind of incorporate me into this because I really love what this represents. There's so many things that it can do. I've read more stuff about him than I probably need to know, but and strictly from an architectural perspective, because that's what I, the greenness of it in terms of what it can do and the fact that that crap doesn't burn just blew my brain cells right out the water.
Right.
And
You
just
know,
for look
Right.
for those that are will end up watching the recording later, I just want you guys to know I am not picking on Miss Iola Stallings. She is on
yeah,
all of my Zooms. We have an amazing relationship, and she knows I'm just messing with her right now because we had these conversations all the time. She is my friend. I'm just
yes,
throwing
yes,
that
we
out
are,
there.
we ace coons. That's all. We Southerners by birth. So yeah, yeah. So I will definitely get in touch with you because I really would like to see if there's a way that maybe we can collaborate some type of way to get the material, or somebody in the area where I can get it to them, or whatever. You know what I mean? So if I have to a U-Haul and take it to them, that's what I'll do. That's how determined I am to clean out my barns. It's outrageous.
Really
Love
quick,
it.
we got another
Okay,
gentleman.
sorry.
Richie,
Yes.
my buddy Richie is out here. I know he's dealing with some international projects right now, brother. How you doing? He's an Air Force veteran, represent. How you doing today, bro?
Good, good. Thanks, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
The
man.
timing of this call was really good because I think I reached out to you a couple of days ago and asked you, hey, I have a question for you, and you invited me to this call.
Yep.
So yes, JJ and I know each other for about 4 or 5 years since I've been in the industry.
And we
But
met where?
we met at in Nashville about 5 years ago, four or
Was
five
it
years ago.
was it Nashville? Okay, it might have been. Because for some reason I
Yeah.
thought we met at NOCO, but you're right. It
No,
was
no.
Nashville. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So my question is, I have international interests, international as in the Dominican Republic. I've been working with the Hemp Initiative in the first, for CBD, trying to get CBD legal and flower legal at the time, but we run into some, we pivoted a little bit away because of the regulations. But I've been involved with several construction folks and people that want to build eco-friendly I mean, the resorts in the Dominican Republic have to be built in the North Coast now because the East Coast is kind of already built with Punta Cana. So if you look
Mm.
at the cities of Miches and stuff like that, I know several big builders that are trying to look at alternative ways of building, like eco-friendly, make it,
Mm.
just different than what they've been doing. I just this
Great.
past week I spoke to folks in the Dominican consulate that visited here in Atlanta, and I said, hey, would you guys be interested in maybe doing a hempcrete building project so that all these new people could see that there's an alternative to it, and they're like, yeah, let
Yeah.
us know what we need to do. So my question is, Derek, and maybe we need to talk offline. I don't want to take much more people's time, but would it be a possibility for maybe a collaboration in the Caribbean, maybe a test phase, maybe send some samples of blocks over there so they could see what it is? I know it's not just a short project. It'll be within 3 to 5 years. I'm not saying within the next 3 to 6 months, but just wanted to put it out there. Like to contact you, like to talk about it and what your thoughts are on the national
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, I would
Mhm.
love that. And there's an example. I think it was last year, and James keeps bringing up NOCO because NOCO can be an awesome place to meet people and collaborate. I met a team from Brazil, and they had been working with the media and with the government trying to do things to get industrial hemp happening in Brazil. And they had a very strong interest in the building aspects and hempcrete. And so my answer to them was absolutely the same, which is the freight companies and the logistics companies that we work with that ship. We've right now, for instance, we're working on a block order, a big project for New York. So we're shipping from Colorado to New York, and these freight companies, they absolutely can service borders and customs and international freight. And so I'd actually started working out with the logistics provider on like, hey, what if we loaded up shipping containers full of blocks and shipped them to Brazil? And so they were turning around estimates even for the freight quote, for instance, basically same day, next day, as if it was here in the US, because those carriers are doing international stuff all the time. So I'd love to, chat more. If you hit me up, through
Yeah.
our company line and email and such, whatever works best, and would love to start collaborating. And I would love to hear too, when we talk then, any examples of what type of construction methods are really favored, because we can maybe cater to that. In Brazil, for instance, they were trying to minimize or get away from all the timber framing. They didn't want to use much wood framing. They wanted just blocks, blocks that could be stacked freely and strong enough to carry the load. And so it'd be great to collaborate and see what kind of solution would be actually really helpful.
Definitely appreciate it. I'll reach out to you
Yeah.
offline, send you an email in the next couple of days or so. And but I'm trying to gather more information on what their needs are. I don't want to contact you, waste your time without knowing exactly what are. 'Cause I know
Awesome.
time is money, right, JJ?
Right.
Yeah, it is. It
Thanks,
is
Richie.
absolutely, baby. Look, everybody wants your information, but nobody wants your invoice. That's real talk. That's serious. And Richie, you bring up an excellent point, and this is not directed towards you in any way whatsoever. This is directed towards people that are gonna view this recording later. Understand, when you're asking Derek to send you samples, he doesn't call up Captain Kirk in the Starship Enterprise and just beams them from his location over to yours. No, money has to be spent to get samples to you. Okay. So if you're going to request stuff like this, Richie, you brought up an excellent point. Please be willing to pay this young man who is in startup, who is an entrepreneur, who is trying to build a lasting company within the you. Help him out and pay for the shit you asking for, please.
That's
I'm
a
just
great pitch, James. I like it.
Hey man, you need an HR guy? I'll be your HR.
Love it.
So yeah, all great points, man. And Richie, did you say you're in Atlanta?
Yes, I'm in Atlanta,
Brother,
North Georgia
mark your
Mountains.
calendar. 27 September. I am going to be in Atlanta doing an event. We're doing a convention there on the 27th of September. You'll see more about it in the
Okay.
coming days, and it's going to be posted to my Georgia page. But 27 September,
Got it.
man, mark your
I
calendar for
got your
that.
Georgia page.
Yeah.
I got your Georgia page. All
That's
right,
what's
thank
up,
you.
man. I
Thank you,
appreciate you coming
Derek.
out. I'm glad you had a
Gotcha.
chance to
Richie.
ask your questions directly to Derek. That's what I wanted. So does anybody else? I see Jessica. Jessica unmuted. How are you today, young lady?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. So since you
Yeah.
unmuted, this is my Oklahoma lady that I was telling you about that knows people in the cement industry and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
please go
I
ahead.
was
Oh,
just
great.
out in the early Cantech days, we sold the samples like whenever everything was started. So what you were just saying is very valid.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say it. I'm tired of the bullshit in this industry, and I'm tired of people asking for things that they can't pay for. So if you can't pay for it, stop asking people for stuff because it takes money to run these companies. There,
Yeah.
I said it. What you can
Especially
cook
in
me, you can cook me, you can cook me, but you can't eat me. Sorry.
yeah. So, and
So
I was just gonna add like I guess because I mean I know some farmers, I know some two different people who have concrete um sand and block and then a concrete, but I just don't know what is the main point or the main focus on what would be like beneficial for like the key points like money cost on um just stuff like that. So I don't know what to go at them with.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great point there, is that
I don't want to ruin it
these
because once you kind of go out there, I want
right.
to. You don't want to try to. Your first approach needs to be a good one,
yeah,
and I know that.
you got one bullet left in the chamber, and you got one shot. You got to make it count.
Right.
Yeah, and
So
that's a great point, because a lot of these conventional material suppliers, their process is so dialed in around keeping that cost way down here, and they're making a concrete block that's being sold for $2.50 at the big box stores. And so they have, kind of a set mindset on that. And what we've had great reception with, for instance, is when there's someone that's already sustainability minded, where they have a vested interest in figuring out how, for instance, there's concrete companies that a lot of them now that have to track their emissions, their carbon emissions and CO2 emissions into the industry. So personally, if I was pitching a conventional concrete supplier, I might take the angle of, hey, this is going to help you reach your sustainability goals for lower emissions in your product. And so, for instance, we've done things on the line of a foundation slab that actually has hemp in it. And so you might call it a hemp stone foundation slab. And that product looks and feels a lot like a regular concrete slab, but it's totally formulated with a meaningful amount of hemp fiber. And you can pencil out how much more sustainable or what the difference in emissions is, lower emissions. But it's really about finding what those people are actually, what their goals are, what's most important to them, because a lot of it would just fall on deaf ears. The conventional building industry being pretty set, some people just don't want to hear it. Some guys will use vinyl siding and latex paint and a lot of plastic on everything they build, and there's nothing we can do to change that. And that person isn't really my ideal client. Whereas the people we meet that they are driven, they want this product or they want those benefits, to them it really matters. And then you'd have, I think, a foot in the door to find some common ground.
Yeah, so I got you. Somebody who's really big on um, the natural and all of that.
Yeah, part of it too is that when you take out, so if you have a concrete mix or a concrete block mix, and you take out some of the stone and you start putting in hemp, sustainability wise, that's great. But if you take it too far, or if, let's say, you do or don't do certain things with the hemp first before you use it, that would actually adulterate and create a failure in the product they're trying to make if they weren't really geared towards that. So done right, you can do a lot of great things. Done wrong, they would not be making concrete blocks that have the strength demands that they're supposed to get and meet those goals. But again, for the right person, the person that's looking for that, that's where the action is and the rapport, for sure.
Sure.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, nobody else. Oh, we've got one person who's unmuted. We've got Chase Williams. I don't know Chase. Chase, how are you today?
I know
Chad,
Chaz.
hey, what's up,
Hey,
Derek?
Chaz.
How are you?
Great to see you on the Zoom here.
Yeah, man, had to come in. James, I met you about 4 years ago at NoCo when in Denver is when I met you.
Oh, I'm gonna say okay.
It
Because
was
I mean, well, it's good to hear from you again, brother. Did I? And I'm assuming I probably added you to my Colorado page or something like that, and you've been getting the info since then.
you're in North Carolina, I'm in South Carolina.
Okay,
And
okay,
yeah, you put me in I think the North Carolina
yeah.
group. So that's how I
See how
got
it
it.
all works out, man? It's like when I meet people, you just put them in the hopper, man. You don't know who's gonna want to do what, but you just good to everybody, make sure everybody gets the information, and over time, people kind of sort themselves out. So thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to add, because I know everybody's looking to do something with it. The best case that we can do right now to help ourselves is finding those builders, finding those people that are willing to use it. And then when you can have that validation, go into those concrete companies and stuff like that that have those big orders, they'll be more willing to listen if you have like backing from a builder saying, hey, okay, if you guys produce X amount of this, I'm gonna use it. That's stuff that can help push us forward because we're at that point right now where we got to show that people are, serious about using it. I've been working with Derek for about the last 9 months, and he's been a part of our journey. We actually have a project we're hoping to close down this week in Atlanta. Um, your friend, if we close that down, I would love for you to come down there and check it out. We'll be using Derek's blocks, but the biggest
Nice.
thing we can do right now to help ourselves out is get these projects and get to these builders and these architects and municipalities. I found huge success calling, small towns, seeing if they have land that they're looking to develop. I think that those are the things that are going to make those concrete companies pay attention, and the builders pay attention, because they know it's there, but they just have to know that the market is there. If we can show that the market is there, then those concrete companies and stuff like that, municipalities, they'll almost move you into these closed down commercial buildings that they have, because they want to repurpose them, but we just have to show the market is there. So I just wanted to add that.
Hey Chase, real quick, so do you guys have an active project in Atlanta right now?
We're hoping to close it down on Friday. We're looking at an 8 townhome project down there that we've been in LaGrange, Georgia. And we're looking at another project in Palmetto, Georgia too, that we're looking to do. But
please do me a favor. Whether you send me a DM, look, I'm not gonna put my cell phone number out here because this is recorded and things will be crazy after. But if it's a DM or however you reach out to me, please do so, because I may have something for you for what we're doing there on the 27th of September, because I'm tied in with the president of the Georgia Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. And you guys may be able to fulfill a little bit of a speaking role on what you're doing if you get that project locked down. So please reach out to me today or tomorrow, just so I can lock your information in and get you linked up with them, because that might be a good synergy for you in that area.
Sure, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. So yeah, man, Derek, this has been awesome.
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
Wanted to help put on a great show for your viewers, and the industry definitely benefits. I mean, this helps, I think, more people than maybe you might realize, and how awesome it is. And I saw this from you when we met at NOCO, your enthusiasm for actually helping us in the industry to get the word out, the advocacy and just sharing in the good word, and preaching that is huge, and it helps everybody back down to the American hemp farmer, especially giving a reason, because there needs to be a destination for all this stuff. Where's it going to go?
Yeah.
It's huge. So I can't thank you enough.
Dude, no, I thank you. Hey, I owed you something. When I met you, I promised you I was going to get you out there. And I think I have done my best to
Yes,
fulfill my promise.
You sure delivered. You definitely followed through, and I really appreciate, again, definitely going out of your way to help make the connections here, so we can jump on your show and help from our end, promote all this.
No worries at all. Well, I think everybody's kind of asked all the questions that they wanted to ask. I didn't know how much more time you have, Derek. If you do have time, I wanted you and Lucas to be able to connect, directly. If we have Luke, I see Lucas is still out here. I'm not sure if he will have a couple minutes or not, but I can end the recording, get everybody off the line, and it'll just be you and him, and y'all can kind of chat for a couple minutes. Lucas, do you have time, brother, for that, or? Trying to see if he's gonna unmute. He has not unmuted yet, and if he,
yeah, buddy.
Okay, all right, cool.
There he is.
Stand by. Look, put a shirt on. I don't want you. I don't want to be
my
jealous.
Shirt on now.
I don't want to be jealous. So there, you're making me jealous, man. So making me like Jonah's brother jealous. That's
somebody's just got to work on a
Sunday.
Right. Well, everyone, I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate everyone coming out. This was one of the larger, Zooms that I've hosted. So I really appreciate everyone coming out, their inputs. I hope everybody got their questions answered, and you have a direction moving forward. If anyone needs to contact me after this, my email address, once again, is James, JAMES, at jjgro.com. Happy to jump in the ring and help out. But like I said before, you got to figure out the WIFM. If you don't know what the WIFM is, it means what's in it for me, right? You got to figure out the WIFM if you want JJ to come and, do this thing too. And if we do that, it'll be a beautiful thing. But like I said, I wish everyone else well on all of their endeavors. So thank everybody for your time. If you guys could go ahead and exit, that'll be awesome. Derek, thank you as well, to you and your family. And I'm just gonna, stop the recording, get everybody off, and then bye, Jessica. Thank you so much for coming out. I hope
much.
it's good for you.
Yeah, my gears are turning for sure. So,
Okay. All right. That'll work. I like
well,
that.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. All right. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Let me go here and
You're a hero, James.
oh, I'm just a dude. I'm like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, man. I'm just a dude next to a dude trying to play another dude.